Part 61. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 602. Usually Do-Bae would swallow his anger after suffering a loss under such circumstances. This time Do-Haeg didn't expect that Lily would hit him with something. He was stunned for a moment, and jam crumbs flew into his eyes. He rubbed it twice and heard again Lily's gloomy words. Suddenly opened her mouth and burst into tears. "If you cry again, I'll put a snake in your mouth." Lily was so noisy that she had a headache. The move she had just made when she hit Do-Haeg had pulled her injured area. The pain now made her break out in cold sweat. Lily took a breath before threatening him. After a few words, Do-Haeg glanced around. It was not bright yet, and there were almost all green trees above his head, blocking a lot of light. When he woke up, he did not find the snake hiding in the grass. At this time, I saw that even though he was usually brave, his expression changed a little. He subconsciously wanted to squeeze towards Lily, and seemed to resent Lily's move of hitting him with fruit just now. He held back his breath and wanted to wait for Lily to coax him. But he didn't hold on for long, because the snakes that could be seen everywhere made him a little scared. It wouldn't matter if it was just one snake. With a group of snakes lying around, Do-Haeg moved closer to Lily, lowered his head and shouted. "One sentence. I'm hungry." He was still a little angry that Lily had just been mean to him. At this moment, even his sister refused to call out. Lily just pretended not to hear what he said and squinted her eyes to rest in peace. Do-Haeg took the initiative to talk to Lily. Unexpectedly, Lily ignored him at all. He was dumbfounded. After a while, he wiped his eyes and started crying again. He originally wanted to kick Lily again, but Lily's fierce look just now took root in his heart, and after hesitating for a moment, he snorted, "Lily Do. I'm hungry." Lily acted as if she didn't hear anything, and Do-Haeg suddenly opened his mouth to cry again, "I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry." Being upset by his noise, Lily never thought of letting Do-Haeg die so easily, waiting for him to cry twice. Perhaps because there was no one to coax him and there were too many snakes around, Do-Haeg was afraid that his cries would attract the snakes to bite him, so Do-Haeg made a fuss for a while and then stopped. The sky was getting brighter, and Lily seemed to have had enough rest. She pointed at the corpses of several dead sparrows and mice around her. "Eat this when you are hungry." At first, Do-Haeg seemed to have no words for Lily, blinking and staring at her. Lily repeated impatiently. He first looked at these small animal carcasses with disgust and shook his head. "I don't want to eat this. The Do family is gone. What else do you want to eat if you don't eat this? Just starve yourself if you don't eat." "I'm seriously injured, don't bother me," Lily warned him, and Do-Haeg burst into tears again. "Just now you didn't you eat the fruit? I want to eat it too." "It's finished." Lily glanced at the core of the fruit that she had just thrown on the ground after eating the fruit, and then glanced at the eye of the fruit that was thrown on the ground. "There is still the peel left." "I want Dad, I want Dad." Do-Haeg felt sad when he saw the peels on the ground. "These peels cannot be eaten." Although he didn't want to eat the carcasses of those small animals at all, he had no other choice at the moment. Do-Haeg didn't eat anything all day yesterday. He had a high fever at that time and couldn't feel hungry. At this time, he was only hungry. He pressed his chest against his back and persisted for a while. He cried and reached out to pick up a sparrow. After a long while, he glanced at Lily. How to eat it? The two of them didn't have flints or other things on them. These little animals couldn't be roasted and eaten. Lily took one last look at the sky. He had no choice but to let Do-Haeg pluck the feathers of these birds and place them out of reach of the big trees. In the afternoon, after the stone has been burned by the sun, put the bird meat on it, hoping that it will be ready to eat after roasting for a while. Hunger in the stomach is not the most important thing at this time, but the snakes all over the mountains and plains are terrifying and abnormal. For the young Do-Haeg, this day is like a year. The carcasses of those birds were roasted half-cooked on the big rocks, but when you were hungry, you didn't care whether the meat was cooked or not. Doheg ate something into his stomach while crying. He made a retching sound from his mouth and cried while swallowing. Lily looked on coldly and ignored him. Every child whose family was exterminated should have a miserable childhood. Do-Bahi in the plot protected Doheg so well, and took all the pressure on her own. After the Do family was wiped out, she did not let him taste the taste of hardship, and raised Doheg like a holy father. Like a white lotus, in the end he couldn't remember the kindness of the Do family in raising him, and he didn't feel much about the destruction of the Do family. Because it didn't matter to him whether the Do family existed or not. Anyway, without Do's father, Do-Bahi would still serve him. So when his biological father appeared later, he forgot the Do family's feud without hesitation and stood on the so-called on the side of righteousness. Now he has suffered a lot and knows that he has gone from being the eldest son of the Do family in fine clothes to living in the mountains and forests, only eating half-cooked animal carcasses to satisfy his hunger. Only then will he know what he has lost, and he will understand his biological father had ruined him. He couldn't believe that such a child who had suffered so much would only be grateful and thankful when his biological father appeared in the future. Lily looked at Doheg, and her eyes grew brighter day by day. He sneered with deeper resentment. It is said that children do not hold grudges, but Doheg was very keenly aware of Lily's indifference to him during this period. At first, he would lose his temper like a young man, but later he found that his temper was not only useless, but might actually, when Lily Do scolded and taught him a lesson, he gradually restrained his temper, but this restraint was not like in the plot that he was moved by Lily Do's behavior, so he was truly willing to change from the bottom of his heart. He did not change at this time, but began to learn resentment, especially when Lily ate the fruits picked up by the snakes every day, while he silently ate the meat of the carcasses of small animals. Doheg felt even more resentful. At the beginning, he felt that it was unfair and made a fuss, but it was useless. Lily would not pay attention to him at all. After Doheg felt that the Do family was gone for the first time, his life began to become difficult. Originally, the death of Do's father had no impact on Doheg. For a child, it just feels like he can no longer see a familiar person. It was only now that he had a comparison between when Do's father was alive and after he was gone. Doheg didn't know what he had lost. He cried every day while carrying Lily on his back. Sometimes he also began to hate those men in black. After a few days, Doheg was not only dirty, but he also lost weight quickly. Lily was applying medicine to the broken bone, and then raised more than half of it. After a month, I could already support the tree pole, get up and walk around slowly. We can no longer live in the valley here because there are too many snakes and the surrounding area is full of fishy smell. Moreover, the big python that was crushed to death by lilies that hung on the tree pole a few days ago began to rot, and the snake's body exuded bursts of stench. The smell came. If Lily hadn't dared to change places at will before the wound was healed, she couldn't help but leave. Now her body could probably move. She directed Doheg to pick up some thicker branches and let him after sharpening them on stones. I caught a few snakes, took some venom and smeared them on the branches. I used 2 of them as crutches, and then I left this place where I had lived for about half a month. After leaving the original place, Lily discovered that there were too many snakes at the bottom of the cliff. Perhaps because of the lush trees and humid location, the snakes multiplied here, and they could be seen everywhere twisted together. Lily was not afraid of snakes, but due to the large number of snakes, Doheg's back was unavoidable. After walking for half a day and walking out of the woods, she heard something in front of her. The sound of water flowing, but there was no one nearby, and the sound of the 2 walking could be echoed. It was so quiet that it was eerie. There is a huge canyon here, with cliffs in front and behind, a large forest in the back, and a pool in front. The water pours out from the mountainside and falls into the pool below, splashing with light smoke. Lily walked for a long time and couldn't walk anymore. Her injured legs and feet began to hurt. She found a place to sit down. There were moss growing on many stones. The cliff was so high that the top could hardly be seen. She could only see halfway up the mountain. It is definitely impossible to go up the mountain now. The only way is to live at the bottom of the cliff for the time being. After one day I have perfected my kung fu, I can find a way to climb up again. Seeing that she wouldn't leave, Do-haeg showed a bit of dissatisfaction on his face, but he didn't dare to show it. Lily seemed to be a different person recently. He would be beaten when he acted out, and he would not be soft at all when beating him. This time the son didn't have Do's father to help him scold his daughter, and he couldn't beat a child, so he had to endure it. For half a month, Do-haeg had hated and was a little afraid of Lily. Now when he saw her sitting down, Do-haeg suppressed his disgust. With hatred, I couldn't help but urge. "Sister, can you leave? It will get dark if you don't." "Where are you going?" "There's no one around, where can you go? If you don't want to stay, get out." Lily sneered, stretched out her hand and pressed the place where her broken leg was. Some of the wounds on her body had already healed, and the swelling on the broken part of the leg had also subsided, but some bruises still remained. It hurt when pressed. It doesn't hurt much anymore, but walking for a long time still feels a little difficult. In comparison, the broken ribs at the waist have recovered the best. Even when you stand up and lie down, as long as you don't move too quickly or violently, it's almost not particularly painful. Hearing Lily's words, Do-haeg lowered his head, suppressed the resentment in his eyes, and said nothing. Lily doesn't care whether he hates her or not. Anyway, in the plot, Do-baehe's kindness to him was not rewarded by him. Instead, he raised a white-eyed wolf. Now Do-haeg just hates her, and at worst he will do the same thing as in the plot. It's just the same thing with Lily Do, but she is on guard against him, so what if he hates her again? To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 603. The two settled down by the waterhole and spent a few days finding some hay to build a simple shack. Compared with the woods full of poisonous snakes, the waterside was obviously much safer. Lily directed Do-haeg to go to the waterhole every day. She searched for herbal medicines by herself to pass the time while he was out. She also tried to practice martial arts. The original owner already had a certain foundation, and it was very easy to get started with martial arts. Once the internal strength was developed through practice, in addition to using medicine every day, in addition to applying it to the broken bones, Baehe also used internal force to regulate the muscles and meridians, which made her body recover faster. After a month, she was almost able to run and jump without any serious problems. In the morning, when Lily wanted to go out separately with Do-haeg to look for something to eat, Do-haeg hesitated, but suddenly stopped her. "Has sister been practicing martial arts recently?" During this period of time, Do-haeg had tanned a lot and lost weight. His clothes were in tatters, and he was not at all like the child who was well protected by Do-baehe in the plot. At this moment, he gritted his teeth and stared at Lily. "Look, there is some nervousness on his face. Sister, please teach me martial arts too." After the two left the woods, he had to pull the herbs on Lily's legs. He was unwilling to do so and was a little resentful of Lily. Naturally, he couldn't sincerely find herbs for her. In addition, there were many venomous snakes in the woods. Sometimes he just wanders outside the woods and pulls back herbs when he sees them. If there are no herbs, he sneaks back to the pond. But he is also afraid that Lily will find him lazy and stop caring about him, so even if he comes back, he will not take care of him. He dared to show up, but just hid behind his back. He saw Lily practicing martial arts recently, and Do-haeg became a little dissatisfied. Do's father taught Do-baehe martial arts at first, but when he taught him, he only asked him to squat on a horse and do basic skills. At that time, Do-haeg endured hardship and refused to learn. He was still young, and Do's father saw that he was young and was reluctant to force him. She just wanted to wait until he was older before teaching him martial arts. Do-haeg didn't think it was important that he didn't know martial arts at first, but now Lily always beats him and there is no support from Do's father. Do-haeg, who was still young, felt the importance of martial arts for the first time. Teach you martial arts? What's the use of learning it? Lily had long sensed that Do-haeg was hiding behind her back to watch her practice martial arts. He was just a child, and no matter how deeply he thought he was hiding, people could actually see the clues every time. Now he couldn't help but make a request to her. Come, Lily asked with a sneer. Do-haeg hurriedly said, I want to learn martial arts, no one will dare to bully me in the future. He finished speaking. When he saw Lily's cold face, he hurriedly shook his head. Sister, I also want to kill those bad guys and avenge my father. What Do-haeg said was not a lie. He was originally the superior of Do's villa. Young master, but because of those men in black, he ended up where he is now. There were many mosquitoes by the pool and life was not good. What he ate was either half-cooked bird meat or fish in the pool, or some fruits. His clothes were also in tatters. His life was incomparable to that of Do's villa before, so he had no regard for those people. He hates the men in black for ruining his life. I don't know how many times in the past few days I have thought in my heart that I have to learn unparalleled martial arts and beat these men in black to a pulp. Originally, Do-haeg was deeply afraid that Lily would not agree to teach him martial arts, but Lily agreed without even thinking about it. A surprised smile appeared on his face. Lily turned her face away. The teacher wanted to teach Do-haeg, but Lily had already decided in her heart how to teach. In the next few years, she did nothing but practice martial arts on her own. He spent an hour every day teaching Do-haeg to practice martial arts, and accidentally taught him some tricks as the two got along. 7 years passed at the bottom of the cliff. Lily did not practice the martial arts passed down by the Do family. She practiced the 9-yang manual. The 7 years had made her internal strength very deep. On the contrary, Do-haeg had spent the past 7 years. His martial arts progress has not been great, and he can only be regarded as a second-rate master in the world. When the original owner taught him Do's martial arts in the plot, he combined his own insights with her unique understanding and tested it himself. After making sure it was harmless, he taught it to his younger brother. This is equivalent to Do-haeg stepping on Do's feet all the time. It was on Lily's shoulders that he achieved his position as a young hero. Naturally, Lily would not be as dedicated as the original owner. It was impossible for him to teach him the 9-yang manual. What he was taught was only the mental method passed down by Do's father. In 7 years in the middle, Do-haeg was taught mediocre martial arts by her but was full of bad intentions. Most importantly, Lily always instilled in him the importance of rights, almost completely different from the Do-haeg in the original plot. Lily spent 7 years staying at the bottom of the cliff. Now that she has deep internal strength, she is ready to find a way to leave this cliff. The original owner founded the Dark Palace in the 5th year after the Do family was exterminated. Now, although it is 2 years too late, years ago, but the current strength of Lily is many times higher than that of the original owner in the plot. Do's father's martial arts is regarded as a first-class master by people in the world. Later, Do-Lily also has deep internal strength, but it is not as good as now. Compared with Lily's internal strength. As one of Lily's skills, the 9-yang manual is not comparable to Do's ordinary martial arts. In addition, the original owner is a martial arts wizard, so Lily's internal power at this time cannot fly directly. Go to the top of the canyon, but if you catch the vines halfway, it will be very easy to get out. Sister, are we leaving the bottom? She couldn't hide her thoughts from Do-haeg. Now Do-haeg is 12 years old. Although his martial arts training is mediocre, this kid is very good at reading people's words. He always has ideas in his heart at a young age and pretends to be well behaved and obedient on the surface. Lily sat cross-legged on the ground. When she heard Do-Haeg's words, she couldn't help turning her head and glanced at him. Seeing this, Do-Haeg lowered his head, suppressing the resentment in his eyes, but his face showed a bit of flattery. Smiling, "I'm just worried about whether my sister can climb to the top of the cliff. Whether I can go up or not is my business. You don't need to worry about it. Get out and practice swordsmanship for 2 hours," Lily scolded him without hesitation. Do-Haeg's face turned red, but he held it back. She has been treating Do-Haeg like this over the years, thus developing Do-Haeg's great endurance and ambition and desire for power and martial arts. In addition, Lily scolded him from time to time, making Do-Haeg feel both inferior and inferior. He is a little arrogant and will retaliate. At this moment, he may have already hated Lily to the bone in his heart, but he can speak eloquently and make people happy. Lily knows the hatred in his heart, but she is not afraid of him, no matter how much he does. Deeply scheming, when he was on guard against him and had absolute strength, Do-Haeg was not a filter at all. The one who should be worried should be the nobleman who will recognize his son in the future. He just wants to care about my sister. After all, after the incident in the Do family, only my sister and I depended on each other. I only have one relative, my sister. If I say a few more words, my sister will definitely not be angry with me." Do-Haeg shook his body. Next, he bowed respectfully to Lily again. When he turned around and left the shed, his expression suddenly became ferocious and terrifying, and then he suppressed her again. He had always suspected that Lily had hidden some advanced martial arts that he had not taught him, so he just used Digo's words to test Lily, but he didn't expect that he would actually test Lily out. Do-Haeg himself knew his current strength, and it was absolutely impossible to return to the canyon. If Lily could go up, it would prove that her martial arts was higher than his, and it was more than a little bit higher. Although Lily didn't say it just now if he wanted to go to the valley, Do-Haeg could feel that she wanted to leave. When he thought of this, he felt like a cat was scratching his heart. He wished he could dig out the martial arts secrets hidden in Lily's mind, and he could. It's only good if you practice. Do-Haeg snorted coldly at the thought of being scolded at will. One day he will dominate this martial arts world and make everyone kneel in front of him. No one will dare to look down on him anymore. Then those who harm him he will not let go of the man in black who has ended up in this situation, and Lily who has either beaten or scolded him over the years. After thinking about it like this, Do-Haeg felt much more comfortable. Lily watched Do-Haeg go out and curled up her lips. The clothes between her arms suddenly moved. A small golden snake about the thickness of a little finger and as long as a chopstick swam out of the clothes along her wrist. This was 2 years ago. The little golden snake appeared out of nowhere. As soon as it came to her side, it seemed to have settled at home. Lily chased it several times and refused to leave. After the arrival of this golden little snake, there were almost no mosquitoes in the summer. Rats and ants, and Lily has tried it before, other snakes are very afraid of it. The little snake is very docile and seems to be very humane. It usually hangs on Lily's hand like a golden armband and has never caused any trouble to Lily. In addition, this snake did not need Lily to take care of food and drink. Occasionally, it would go find food on its own when no one was around, and come back when it was full. It had no intention of harming Lily, so Lily kept it. The little snake swam into Lily's palm, and its tiny body coiled up into a ball about the size of a child's hand. Lily pulled its tail and lifted it up. It spat out its vomit, and when Lily put it down, it slipped back on its own. In Lily clothes. After deciding to leave the valley, Lily had no intention of hiding Do-Haeg. She would go out every day to see her. Whenever Do-Haeg saw her going out, he looked aggrieved as he wanted to follow her but didn't dare, until the day when Lily was really ready to leave. Doheg finally lost his temper and whispered, "Sister, can I go out with you? I went out to find out the identity of the man in black." "What's the use of you going? Don't embarrass the Doe family by looking at useless embroidered pillows." Lily gave him a cold look, and these words made Doheg feel embarrassed again. His head hung down. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 604. In the plot, Do-Bae cared for and doted on her younger brother in every possible way. Unfortunately, Doheg stabbed her in the end, and Doheg, the dark palace she organized, has always been dissatisfied with her, especially after the dark palace and the people in the world went against each other. The former bishop was so pedantic and stupid that he had a few tempers with her over this. At that time, Lily Do had to coax him in a low voice, thinking that this was just his brother's pure character. After the original owner separated from the young hero she admired due to infertility, even though her temperament changed drastically at that time, she still suppressed her temper in front of her younger brother. On the contrary, Doheg later realized that she was not used to it. The two siblings broke up unhappy several times, and Do-Bae had to endure the grievances in her heart to comfort him. At this time, Lily was either beating or scolding Doheg, and she opened her mouth to speak sarcastically, but he became more honest. Now his face turned red after being criticized, and he did not dare to say a word. "I will work hard in the future and will not embarrass my sister." Doheg trembled all over, biting his tongue, and then showed a respectful look. "It's just sister, I always feel that there is something wrong with my recent martial arts practice. It's not going well. Did my sister teach you wrong?" He wanted Lily to teach him real good martial arts, instead of these useless skills that Doheg thought were just for dealing with him, but Lily sneered. "If the material is not good, no matter how good the tool is, it will be useless on you." As soon as these words were spoken, Doheg's eyes flashed with gloom, but in the end he just bowed his head and replied, "Sister, you taught me a good lesson. Haig will definitely practice harder and won't embarrass your sister." "Huh," Lily snorted and ignored him. "Turn around and leave." As soon as she left, Doheg shivered all over, gritted his teeth and narrowed his eyes bitterly. He didn't like these martial arts at all. Over the past few years, Lily had taught him to be very ambitious. He was always thinking about how to take shortcuts to get the best things, but he couldn't calm down and practice martial arts with peace of mind. In fact, Doheg was not stupid. His Tianzi is even very smart, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to think so fast all these years with just a few clicks from Lily. Although the martial arts passed down by Do's father are not as good as the Nine Yang manual, if he is willing to study hard, Doheg will be today. It will not lead to the current situation where it is neither good nor bad. But just because the martial arts passed down by Do's father were compared with the Nine Yang manual, Doheg felt that what he got was not the best, and he inevitably felt a little greedy in his heart. He also refused to practice the set of martial arts properly. In addition, Lily did not teach him his understanding like the original owner, and he had no intention of learning. Therefore, as time went by, his martial arts became even more mediocre, and the same was true for practicing martial arts. Yes, seeing Lily now has a chance to leave the valley. Doheg even felt that Lily was hiding something secret, and coupled with Lily's rude attitude towards him when speaking, he felt very resentful towards Lily, but he did not dare to get angry. "Sister is leaving this time. When will she come back?" Although Doheg was angry at being insulted by Lily just now, when he saw Lily walking faster and faster, he still endured the resentment in his heart and chased after him again to ask. This time, Lily ignored him at all and raised his inner strength. The body flew up lightly. After stepping on the tree crown, his body quickly escaped after a few ups and downs. Dohaig raised his head and glanced up, with a look of envy in his eyes. When Lily's figure became smaller and smaller, she was gradually invisible. Only then did he couldn't help but curse in a low voice. After staying in the valley for 7 years, Lily flew all the way and grabbed the vines between the mountain walls to stabilize her body. After resting for a while, she stepped on the treetops again and ran up. When she finally reached the top of the mountain, Lily just let out a sigh of relief. She reached out and patted her grass clippings, looked in the direction and walked towards the ruins of Doe's villa. 7 years later, the once prosperous Doe's villa has now become a ruin, surrounded by weeds, and it looks like it is extremely desolate. Some of the collapsed bricks and tiles are covered with moss. Many insects have made their home here. Several houses have not completely collapsed. The walls are blackened by smoke. Maybe they heard someone coming in from outside. There was a sound of stepping on broken grass, and a few children in ragged clothes with yellow faces and skinny muscles emerged from inside. They were staring at Lily with wary faces, and the big eyes on the face that were so thin that they were out of shape looked particularly bulging. Very scary. Who are you? Lily asked, and the little golden snake on her arm snaked and slid towards her wrist. When it reached her wrist, it stopped, biting its tail and stopped moving. Len Yehui saw it as if it was a brilliant like a golden bracelet. When Lily stretched out her hand to lift her hair, several children showed a look of vigilance in their eyes. These children remained silent. After Lily asked several times, the oldest boy stood in front and turned around. The child blocked it and revealed the identities of several people. These children are all orphans and make a living by begging in the city because the Doe family villa outside the city was wiped out overnight 7 years ago. The place here is spacious and not too far from the city. In addition, although several houses were burned, they were not completely burned and could still accommodate people. The environment was much better than that of some ruined temples. However, many people in the city thought that Zhuangzi had been killed from top to bottom. Many people believe that there are still ghosts here, so they dare not come here. Several children have nowhere to go and settled here a few years ago. Lily came out of the valley this time to adopt orphans for her own use. When she heard the children finish talking, she asked them if they were willing to leave with her. These children had no parents, and even eating was a problem. Had long been desperate. When they heard that Lily was willing to adopt them, a few of them didn't dare to believe it at first. They were obviously a little scared. Later, when the older children looked at Lily, they vaguely said that if they have the ability to adopt them, they will naturally be willing to stay with Lily and repay her well in the future. It has been more than 7 years since she fell into the valley. The clothes on Lily are still the same ones she wore when she was a child. Over the past few years, they have become unfit. The cuffs and skirt are shorter, and they are even tied at the feet. Barefoot, if it weren't for the small golden snake hanging on her wrist, which was recognized by a group of children as a gold bracelet, they might have thought she was a liar. In order to establish a dark palace, you need to have money, people, and martial arts. Lily doesn't have to worry about having no one. Orphans can be seen everywhere in the city. In such an era that is not very wealthy, it is very simple to find orphans and use them for yourself. She also has martial arts, but she is worried about money. Without money, everything is empty talk. She thought for a while, reached out and touched the golden snake. The tail of the snake trembled slightly. Lily told the children to wait for her to pass. He picked them up again in 2 days and left, then turned and walked towards the forest. What is the herb that can detoxify you? Lily pulled off the little snake and put it on the ground. The snake was burrowing around in the grass and refused to leave. She caught the little snake again, opened its mouth, and saw the tiny little snake flashing in its mouth. With his fangs shining coldly, he hesitated for a moment, then made a gesture to stab his hand. the originally docile little snake began to struggle desperately. Its small snake body was wrapped around Lily's wrist with considerable force. As soon as Lily let it go, it quickly ran away and stared at Lily with a pair of beautiful eyes. After a while, it swam over again, vomiting the letter. After a while, it opened its mouth and bit the tip of its tail. 2 drops of snake blood came out. The little snake put its tail in front of Lily. An idea flashed in Lily's mind. Could it be solved? The venom of this golden snake is the snake blood itself? This time she caught the little snake again, and when she was about to stab her again, the little snake stopped struggling. This move made Lily confirm her suspicion, and she was a little happy to wrap the little snake around again. On his own wrist, he entered the city. The city is very lively. Since the Doe family villa was exterminated 7 years ago, there have been fewer people talking about it in the city. Lily's entry into the city did not attract anyone's attention. Many people regarded her as a beggar and their eyes fell on her. When she was on her, he moved away in disgust. Lily walked around the city slowly, first going to several places where the original owner adopted orphans in her memory. After deciding on the candidate, she began to walk around the city calmly. She got up and saw a girl on a sedan with a group of maids and servants stopping in front of a silver building. Lily smiled at the corner of her mouth and pulled off the small golden snake that was a bracelet on her wrist. It was thrown in the direction of the girl to be. This snake was extremely small, not very big when curled up into a ball, and Lily was very fast. When the girl felt something falling on her, she only had time to scream ouch and her face turned pale. Ching fell to the ground. Her servants around her began to scream. A group of people in front of Yinla quickly gathered around. Lily also came closer. The little snake that was hiding on the girl quickly swam towards her and wrapped around her wrist again. This time he hid in the ragged sleeves and refused to come out again. "Miss, please wake up in just a moment." The girl's complexion had turned dark, her originally beautiful face had become a bit ferocious and terrifying, her breathing had begun to quicken, her eyelashes kept trembling, and she looked as if she had gone crazy. "It looks like he will die at any time." Lily squeezed into the middle of the crowd, glanced at the ground, knelt down and took the girl's pulse. The pulse was beating extremely fast at this moment. If the girl was not treated in time, she might die at any time. Those servants would have been there long ago. She was so frightened that she was crying and crying when she saw Lily's actions, but no one came up to scold her. "If you are poisoned, you can treat it. The diagnosis is worth 1,000 taels of silver." Lily was not sure whether the poison of the little golden snake was its flesh and blood. At this moment, she had already thought of 2 ways to exorcise the poison. If it was the blood of the little golden snake, since she couldn't detoxify the poison, she prepared to use her power to detoxify the girl, but time was of the essence. The poison was too strong. In just a few breaths, the girl's eyes and nostrils were filled with blood, and she looked particularly terrifying. Want to know more exciting news about Cannon Fodder strategy? Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign in the upper right corner, select Add Friends to add a public account, search for Kitty and Zongween Wang, follow the public account, and never miss every time again update. To be continued. Cannon Fodder strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 605. When a group of servants heard Lily's words, they nodded without hesitation. The place where Lily just threw the little golden snake was towards the girl's back. At this moment, she picked up the girl and pulled the girl's body. She pushed her hair aside, and she could clearly see the 2 tiny pinhole-like tooth marks on the back of her neck. The wounds were already black and purple, and the blood dripping out now was already purple-black. She touched the little golden snake. Where it was, he reached in with his finger without thinking. With a slight stroke of his fingertip, he pierced the skin of the little golden snake. 2 drops of snake blood were obtained on his finger. he squeezed out the poisonous blood for the girl first, and then squeezed out the poisonous blood. Snake blood was smeared on it. This snake blood can indeed detoxify the little golden snake's venom. The snake's venom was very strong just now. Once the snake blood was applied, the detoxification was very fast. In about half an hour, the color of the wound on the back of the girl's neck gradually returned to normal, and her complexion also changed from a normal one. The initial dark purple color turned into a pale color. Although she still didn't wake up, her breathing was no longer as rapid as before. Seeing this scene, the surrounding servants thanked Lily and invited her to go to the house to get it. Silver. What Lily is short of right now is money, and she is not polite to this group of people. She is not afraid that someone will dare to blame her. Fortunately, this girl comes from a merchant family, and her parents are not tricky and weird people. After knowing that Lily saved after her daughter's death, she was very grateful and took out a stack of 50 banknotes and handed them to Lily. Seeing that Lily was in tatters, someone specially gave her a new set of clothes and a dress. Some smaller amounts of broken silver. When Lily left the house again, she no longer looked like the shabby girl she had just been. She made a lot of money from the little golden snake, but she felt a little sorry for the bitten girl, but at this moment Lily had no other choice. I just plan to repay her when I have the opportunity in the future. After getting the money, she first went to the tea house to sit for a while. The storyteller in the tea house was mentioning the mighty general who was being reused by the emperor in the current court. When the people around mentioned this mighty general, General Gao, everyone's faces changed. They all showed a bit of admiration and admiration. Lily's hand holding the teacup tightened, and she looked in the direction of the storyteller. Everyone in the tea house was staring at the storyteller. Lily's gaze did not attract anyone's attention. The storyteller was frothing at the mouth. Speaking of this mighty general, who among us common people does not know? 13 years ago, the general was besieged and captured by the enemy. He fell into the hands of the enemy for more than 3 years, but he has never forgotten our Daking dynasty. Did not forget the emperor, and later escaped. He is a good man. The mighty general was originally named Gao. His name is Gao Yi. He comes from a family of generals and has been loyal to the country for generations. When he was young, he went on expeditions with the army and made great contributions to the Han dynasty. In his prime, he was named a general by the current emperor, but he was involved in a war with foreigners 13 years ago. Gao Yi was ambushed by the enemy because of his greed for merit. He almost escaped death and was kidnapped by foreigners. When the news came back to China, the emperor of the Daking dynasty thought that he had lost his integrity and surrendered to the enemy. In anger, he announced that Gao Yi's family would be executed. At that time, Gao Yi was a foreigner, and Dou's father went out of seclusion several times, but the enemy army was very careful about Gao Yi, and Dou's father returned without success every time. When I finally heard that the emperor ordered his entire family to be executed. In a hurry, Dou's father took Gao Yi's wife out of the house. At that time, Zhou was already pregnant. In order to hide her from others, Dou's father claimed that Zhou was his side wife. He gave Zhou and others shelter and hid it from everyone. Even Lily Dou believed in this at first. More than 3 years later, Gao Yi escaped from the foreign race with the help of a few loyal men. Over the years, he had been bullied by the foreign race and finally survived. It was all with strong perseverance and persistence. He had been tortured for several years, so he became moody and had a strange and cold temper. After returning home, he heard that his wife had been beheaded by the emperor, and the members of the Gao family were killed. Gao Yi felt pain in his heart. Naturally, one can imagine. At that time, he was a sinner of the Daking dynasty, and everyone was scolding him. He rejoined the army, started step by step, and relied on his own ability to make military exploits again. In the process of more than a year, his loyal subordinates in the past he defected to him again, and when Gao Yi accidentally heard someone talking about his former sworn brother Dou's father, he remembered such a person. In the process of several years of being a foreigner, Gao Yi did not trust anyone, and because Dou's father still established Dou's villa even when his accident happened, Gao Yi was very dissatisfied with him. When they became sworn brothers, they had said that they did not want to be born in the same year, the same month and the same day, but they wanted to die in the same year, the same month and the same day. Now that he thinks of himself while he was being tortured by foreigners, Dou's father enjoyed a high status in the martial arts world of the Central Plains. Gao Yi was unhappy with Dou's father and wanted to break up with Dou's father. When they were no longer brothers, he accidentally heard that Dou's father married his stepmother's surname is also Zhou. Mrs. Zhou was extremely beautiful. Many people in the capital felt sorry for her when she married him. At first, Gao Yi was very proud of this. He remembered that when he was very proud, he had let Dou's father see his wife. At that time, Dou's father also praised Zhou's beauty and national beauty. Now, if he is captured by a foreign tribe, it seems that Zhou's greed for life and fear of death, and Dou's father is obsessed with sex, the two people may get into trouble. He sent people to investigate, and the results turned out to be true. Out of resentment, Gao Yi had murderous intentions and found loyal subordinates. He pretended to be injured and was rescued by Zhou Rui'er into Zhuangzi. Zhou Rui'er was originally the niece of the Zhou family. Gao Yi was kidnapped. The Zhou family was implicated because of their in-law relationship. The Zhou family rescued the bones and blood left by her natal family. Together with Dou's father, she was rescued and raised in Zhuangzi as a young lady of the Dou family. Using Zhou Rui'er to drug the Dou family, Gao Yi killed the Dou family overnight, and finally set fire to the Dou family. It's just that Zhou Rui'er was not dead at first. When Gao Yi saw her face was similar to his wife Zhou's, he hesitated before taking action. In addition, Zhou Rui'er was still young and helped him get revenge. What a mistake in one thought. But when he learned the truth from Zhou Rui'er, Gao Yi realized that he had misunderstood his benefactor. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret it. He killed his wife and was in unbearable pain. When he heard that Dou Haig was his own flesh and blood, he was even more painful. He had ruined his lifeblood in a few years as a foreigner, and had long since become inhumane. He had no successor to Niu Da's family business in the future, and his only flesh and blood was still forced to jump off the cliff. Gao Yi was heartbroken and fought with all his heart. His resentment was vented on foreigners, and he made great military exploits in 7 years, and 2 years ago he claimed the merits from the emperor under his real name. When the truth about Gao Yi's defection spread throughout the Daking dynasty overnight, everyone called him a true hero and a true man. People in the world worshipped him, and the court also valued him. Because Gao Yi had no heirs, he would never have any heirs in the future. The reason was that the emperor was very relieved to use him. In addition, the emperor believed that he had killed the only flesh and blood of his loyal minister, leaving him with no successor. Gao Yi could not have any descendants anyway, so he was named a mighty general and given the throne. Is the only king with a different surname in the Daking dynasty in the past few decades, with unlimited glory. Lily sat in the tea house and listened to the storyteller's story. She recalled Gao Yi's life in the plot and narrowed her eyes. At this time, Gao Yi had made military exploits and regained his real name. He was named a mighty general by the emperor. He is considered a celebrity in the court. Fellow martial arts fellows also admired his righteousness very much. Many people regarded him as an idol and were willing to join his sect and work for him. In a few years, he would even be named the king of different surnames, whether in the martial arts or in the court. Here, he enjoys high honors and is a godlike figure in the eyes of the people. In the end, he will recognize his son, eradicate Dou Beihe, the only heir of Dou's father, and live a happy life from now on. No one knows that he has committed any crime. Things that happened. Silently placing the teacup in her hand on the table, Lily took out 2 copper plates from her sleeves and put them on the table. Lily glanced outside and then walked out of the tea house. The storyteller was still telling Gao Yi's life, and everyone was praising him for his integrity, but Lily just wanted to laugh. It took a few days to visit all the places where Do Beihe adopted orphans. Some of the children were willing to leave with her. Some older children had their own ideas and were afraid of being cheated, so they refused to leave. She selected those children with stronger personalities who were suitable for martial arts training and took them out of the city. She only accepted less than 20 children from this group. She sent these children in batches to the canyon, not to the water pool. Instead, it was sent to the other end of the snake forest. This snake forest seemed to divide the canyon into 2 halves, with all kinds of venomous snakes in the middle. In the past, Do Haig would not dare to take a step inside easily, but she could be free there. Do Haig would never find out about teaching these children martial arts. After warning these children not to run around and wait for her, Lily returned to the plains and bought a large amount of rice and other supplies before returning to the bottom of the valley. She asked the children to build simple houses by themselves. Let them make their own fire to cook. These children used to be orphans, making a living by begging. They didn't have enough food or clothing to keep them warm, and they were looked down upon by others. Now they have food to eat and a place to live. Even at the bottom of the valley, Lily has given them direct access. After saying that they would be used for their own use in the future, these people were satisfied. Compared with the previous life of no fixed abode, the life now was undoubtedly much more satisfying. After doing all this, Lily used the help of her previous experience in managing the company, combined with some of Do Beihe's management methods in the plot, grouped these children into separate groups, allowing these children to supervise and encourage each other. She taught this group of people basic Do martial arts for a few days. Integrating some Do Beihe's understanding in her previous life made her return to the cliff, and she jumped down again with her sights set on the right direction. Want to know more exciting news about Cannon Fodder strategy? Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign in the upper right corner, select Add Friends to add a public account, search for Kidian Zongween Wang, follow the public account, and never miss every time again update. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 606. It had already taken nearly a month from when Lily came out of the valley to when she came back. When Lily jumped down from the mountain, Do Haig was catching fish by the pool and playing with it. He held a fish and played with its scales. When the fish was tortured to the point of barely breathing, he put the fish into the water again. Once the fish was a little more energetic, he caught it again. The fish was covered in blood. He had a gloomy and angry look on his face. When he heard the sound of the leaves shaking, turning around to look, he saw Lily's figure. He subconsciously crushed the fish's head with one palm. The fish gradually and instinctively twitched in his palm. Then he calmly threw the dead fish into the pond and washed it himself. He stood up with his hands lifted, and when he turned his head, he looked happy again. "Sister, you are finally back." Lily jumped down very quickly. She noticed Do Haig's behavior just now, but she pretended not to notice it and gave him a cold look without making a sound. As soon as she came back, Lily gave Do Haig a cold blow. There was a bit of resentment in his eyes, but he held it back. "Is this journey going smoothly for my sister? But have you found the man in black? What does it have to do with you?" "I just found it. With your skills as a 3-legged cat, who else can you beat?" Lily's unceremonious words made Do Haig's cheeks turn red and purple, and he clenched his hands. He lowered his head and responded. Due to malnutrition over the years, he did not grow as tall and strong as in the plot. Instead, he was skinny. However, he inherited Gao Yi's appearance, and his appearance was not bad. He is also tall, but only his bones are left, his cheeks are a little thin, and now he looks feminine because of his youth. Even with a smile on his face, he didn't look sunny and clean. In addition, he was dressed in rags. Lily had no intention of buying him clothes to dress him up this time. She scolded Doheg and went into the house. "Bring me some water, I want to wash my hands." Doheg gritted his teeth and said yes. In life at the foot of the mountain, Doheg grew older day by day. Lily's attitude towards him did not get better because he was older, but instead became worse. In Doheg's heart, Lily was a moody and bad-tempered woman. He hated her so much that he gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to have any thoughts about Lily, because in the next 5 years or so, Lily's strength was far higher than before, and he later I also practiced hard for a while. But after discovering that it was impossible for him to catch up with Lily in martial arts, Doheg became discouraged. He resented Lily and was jealous of her, and wanted to get the secrets of the Do family she had hidden, because in Doheg's eyes, he is the male son of the Do family and should inherit the martial arts of the Do family. It's a pity that now that Do's father has passed away, there is no one to help him vent his anger. In the past 5 years, Lily would go out of the valley every once in a while. Firstly, she would bring food and drink to the future members of the Dark Palace on the other side of the mountain. Secondly, she would teach them martial arts. In the past 5 years, almost all the members of the Dark Palace were very successful. They understand that if they don't want to live the life of being bullied again, they have to work hard. Lily gave them a chance, and these children know how to cherish it more than ordinary children. Doheg practiced Do's martial arts for more than 10 years, but in the end he was far behind these youngest children who had only practiced for 5 years. The organization of the Dark Palace is not as large as in the plot. Lily is not like the original owner who only wants to recruit more people. Instead, he allows fewer people to defeat more. In the past 5 years, Lily has successively taken in more than 10 children, and has collected 30 after having a child. He did not bring any more children back. Each of these orphans were just as skilled as the members of the Dark Palace organization in the plot. At that time, Do Behi was reluctant to use the Do family's martial arts that she had learned. Some things were taught to these orphans, but they were all taught to Doheg. Lily's behavior was completely opposite to hers. Do's martial arts was not only modified by Do Lily, but also added some of Lily's own insights, because there were not many children. Reasons, so she has personally taught almost every child. The quantity of these grown-up boys and girls cannot be compared with the original Andean, but the quality is much higher than that of Do Behi's Andean. At this time, Gao Yi should have been named king of different surnames. After Lily checked the martial arts status of the members of the Dark Hall a few days ago, she was almost ready to avenge the original owner. Doheg has not made much progress in martial arts in the past few years, but the number of Wawa intestines in his stomach is increasing each time. He has memorized the pattern of Lily's coming out of the valley 5 years ago, and even in order to let himself remember the number of days, Lily whenever he goes out, he will carve a mark somewhere in the canyon. A few months ago, Lily almost came out of the canyon every other month or so. Recently, the frequency of going out of the canyon has become much higher, even 3 to 5 times recently. The day was about to go to the top of the cliff, which made Doheg wonder if Lily was preparing to leave the bottom of the valley. Now it is extremely easy for Lily to leave the valley. Lily has always been lukewarm to him over the years. Doheg is now 17 years old. As a young man, being trapped at the bottom of the cliff for 12 years is not a good thing for him. It was like being in jail. He also longed to see the outside world. He remembered his days as the eldest young master of the Do family when he was a child, and the flattery of many servants. There were many novel things outside, so there was no need to eat these half-cooked things. Meat and fruit, there is no need to wear these tattered clothes. He longs for the scenery outside, but he can't get out of the valley. After 12 years, Doheg's martial arts can only be regarded as the bottom of the best. He has no way to climb to the top of this cliff. Lily has not cared about the identity of the two siblings in these years, and has been extremely indifferent to him. Dohag is really afraid one day Lily climbed to the top of the cliff and never came back, leaving him alone in this ghostly place where the sky was not responding, the earth was not working, and the mountains and plains were full of venomous snakes. So when Lily was about to go up the cliff again, Dohag was a little afraid of her, but he hesitated and called Lily back. "Sister, are you going up the mountain again?" Over the years, in Dohag's eyes, Lily has been tracing the tragedy of the Doe family's destruction. Although it has been so many years, Dohag thinks that this revenge may not be avenged, but he does not dare to tell Lily like this, otherwise he will be beaten to death by Lily. No matter how disapproving he was, Dohag still showed his hatred for those men in black. "I also want to go up the mountain with my sister to find out the whereabouts of the murderer who killed my parents back then." Originally afraid that Lily would not agree to his request, Dohag was anxiously thinking about what method he would use to convince Lily, but Lily frowned and looked at him. "You want to get out of the valley? You are not good at literature or martial arts, but you met the murderer. How can you take revenge? Just with your few frivolous intestines. I'll save you." There was a bit of contempt in her eyes. At this moment, he stood condescendingly and stared at Dohag. He looked down on Dohag from the bottom of his heart. He looked at Dohag and trembled all over. He endured it again and again. Suddenly his knees went weak and he knelt down towards Lily. "Hag, I don't have much ability, but I don't want to hide behind my sister all the time. I also want to do my best to help my parents die, so I beg my sister." In the plot, the original owner was very kind to Dohag, but Dohag never knelt down to her at that time. On the contrary, after recognizing his biological father in the end, he chose to be kind to her without hesitation. Now Lily is not attacking him. Even scolding, he was always harsh and cruel, but he knelt in front of Lily, remembering that in front of the Doe family's old site, Dohag also used the excuse that the man had gold under his knees to make him kowtow 3 times to the people of the Doe family's villa. When Xiongtu refused, Lily curled her lips and pretended to think. Dohag knelt there tremblingly. After a while, she nodded. "Okay, I didn't want to take you out originally, and I don't want to come back this time. It's dangerous outside the mountains. I originally wanted to leave you alone in this safe place, but since you want to go out, I'll take you out." When Dohag heard that Lily agreed to take him away, he was surprised and happy, but then he thought that she had almost abandoned him, and he felt very resentful. He collected his emotions and hurriedly promised Lily that he would definitely find her. The man in black came out to offer sacrifices to Doe's father's soul in heaven, and then he was caught by Lily. This time Lily was planning to take Dohag out of the canyon. She had prepared such a generous gift for Gao Yi, so how could she give up so easily? The two of them climbed to the top of the cliff and looked at the scenery under the cliff. Dohag felt relieved. With a tone of voice, he straightened his clothes and followed Lily. He went to the city and bought Dohag some shabby coarse clothes. His clothes were older than those of the beggars in the city. When he was at the bottom of the valley, there were only 2 siblings, so he felt nothing. Once he entered the city now, he saw that the people around him were dressed in such shabby clothes. With his glamorous appearance, Dohag felt inferior and ashamed. Lily bought him the most ugly clothes, but at least it covered his body. Dohag caressed him lovingly and sighed. "I wonder what kind of food and clothing did my father have when he was still alive. At that time, he wore brocade clothes and gold locks, ate delicacies from the mountains and seas, and was served by servants." When Lily heard this, she looked back at him with a sneer and said nothing. Dohag looked at her and said, he was too busy to say anything more, but when he thought of the man in black who had caused him to end up like this, he felt a little resentful in his heart. The two of them were not planning to go back to the valley this time, so they naturally wanted to find a place to stay. Lily found an inn, asked for 2 rooms, and told Dohaig not to disturb her before entering the room. Dohaig re-entered the city after falling at the bottom of the cliff for more than 10 years. Dohaig was fresh at the moment and wished he could take a stroll in the city immediately. He had no time to follow Lily and ask for trouble. He responded and waited for Lily to pass. After finding the door, he hurriedly went downstairs and started walking around. As soon as he left, Lily's closed door opened. Seeing Dohaig leaving, a smile appeared on Lily's face. The map she had explored in this capital over the years appeared in her mind, and she followed suit. Out the door. Want to know more exciting news about Cannon Fodder strategy? Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign in the upper right corner, select Add Friends to add a public account, search for, follow the public account, and never miss every update again. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 607. We stopped in front of a brothel called Yotang Chun. In front of the wooden fence, a group of girls dressed in gorgeous clothes were lying on the fence looking down, waving handkerchiefs. When they saw Lily, they all covered their mouths and laughed. Although the girls in these workshops were all tawdry in their movements, but there were so many girls, they still looked very cold. He spent 30 taels of silver to keep one of them, a plump, charming girl with a conspicuous beauty mark on her chin named Chun Wan, for 2 months. After Lily explained a few words to her, she handed her over to the old madam. I left after paying the deposit. That night, when Dohaig came back, the door of Lily's room was closed, and the lights were on. Dohaig called out, and the room responded. He was so hungry that he felt panicked, but Lily had no intention of eating, so he had to endure it bitterly. He suppressed the anger in his heart and retreated to his room. Just when he was a little angry, there was a knock on the door suddenly. Dohaig opened the door unhappily and saw a charming woman wearing a plain white dress and a married woman's hairstyle. The girl stood at his door, as if she didn't expect that the person opening the door was a man. The girl was startled and opened her mouth slightly. The small mole at the corner of her mouth seemed to be alive and extremely charming. Chunju's appearance is not very outstanding, but her figure is graceful. Dohaig is at an impulsive age. In addition, when he lived at the bottom of the valley, he had never seen any girls. After more than 10 years, when he came out now, when he saw Asao, he felt like Diao Chan. Now, his eyes were fixed on this girl and he couldn't move away at all. The girl seemed to be in the wrong place. He apologized to Dohaig in a gentle voice and was about to leave, when Dohaig's heart moved and he opened his mouth to call him back. He invited the girl into the house with sweet words, and quickly figured out the girl's name. Her name was Chun Wan, and she was married a few years ago. Unfortunately, her husband passed away half a month ago, and she is currently in mourning. She went to the city with her husband's family to visit her. Unfortunately, he took the wrong path. When Dohaig heard that the woman named Chun Wan was a young widow, his heart became even hotter. One of them had a heart, and the other seemed to have another intention. The beauty looked more and more beautiful under the lamp. In the end, I didn't know who seduced whom, but Dohaig later forgot about dinner and got into a ball with Chun Wan. Meeting a woman for the first time in his life, Dohaig felt a little excited at first, and he had a passionate fight with Chun Wan for several days. This little widow came over every evening. He had to leave before dawn. In the past half-month, Dohaig entered the gentle land for the first time. She no longer kept an eye on Lily's movements every day, until a month later, Chun Wan suddenly told Dohaig that she was pregnant. When he heard the news, Dohaig was shocked. He was only 17 this year, even though he was a womanizer. But he was not mentally prepared to be a father at all at this moment. What's more, in his heart, he looked down on Chunwan, and she was not perfect. She was still a widow whose husband had died. He didn't like her at all if she wanted to be his wife. Do-haeg hesitated for a while, then smiled and dismissed the spring silk. It was okay to just pass it off a few times, but after a long time, Chunwan stopped doing it. She began to come to the inn frequently, and she did not dare to pester Do-haeg anymore. After all, Lily had said when he gave her the money, Do-haeg would not do it anymore. People are cruel by nature. If they kill someone and silence them when they are cornered, it will not be worth it. She takes money to do things for others. Chunwan only needs to hold Do-haeg off for a few days so that he has no intention to pester Lily so that she can do it on her own. Her task was completed when she was done with her own affairs, so Chunwan came over every day to cry and make Do-haeg upset, but every time she left with a wink before he couldn't bear it anymore. What people in the entertainment circle are best at is reading people's faces. No matter how scheming Do-haeg is, he is still young and his experience is not comparable to him. Even if there are twists and turns in his heart, after all, he has been living at the bottom of the valley for many years and has never seen much of the world. For although Chunwan is a little impatient, she is his first woman after all, and this woman is the best at pleasing him. Although he is cruel, it is also necessary for Do-haeg to suddenly kill her with cruel heart. There is a process. When Do-haeg was distracted by Chunwan, Lily took advantage of this period to go to the valley every day, going back in the evening and back in the morning. Do-haeg didn't notice this at all, but Lily noticed that his expression was getting more and more, with his impatience and haze. Given his personality, if Chun-ji continues to struggle with her, he may run out of patience, but fortunately, the 2-month time limit between Lily and Chun-ju is coming soon. Do-haeg was soon forced to have murderous intentions by the child in Chunwan's belly who might be his. Chunwan probably felt it too, so she threatened him by saying that she was the daughter of a master of Judaism and that her father was in the world. She is of high status and has great martial arts skills. Her personal maid knew all about her relationship with Do-haeg. How did Do-haeg know if there was a 9-sword sect in Jeonghu? I heard that Chunwan was quite good, and someone knew about the relationship between the two. Because of this, I felt a little defensive and didn't dare to do something to her for a while. Unexpectedly, Chunwan disappeared from that day and never came again. Thinking about the piece of meat in her belly and fearing that the 9 Blades Gate would come to her door, Do-haeg couldn't sleep early for several nights. After hesitating for a long time, he still found Lily the next day and muttered, "Elder sister." His timid look made Lily frown and said nothing. Lily was sitting by the wooden railing in the lobby of the inn, lowering her head and looking outside. At this moment, people were coming and going in an endless stream and it was noisy. Although it was noisy, it seemed that the table where Lily was sitting was extremely quiet. "Sister, I have something to tell you." Seeing that Lily ignored him, Do-haeg couldn't help but increase his voice and said, "He has caused such a disaster. At this time, there is no way to solve it without relying on Lily. If Chunwan's father was really that powerful, and when the time came, he led people to kill him." Do-haeg knew how much he weighed, so he sat next to Lily and carefully told Lily what had happened these days. But he had bad intentions and was with Chunwan, but he said that Chunwan took the initiative to hook up with him. "So, that little lady is pregnant." This matter was originally set up by Lily to prevent him from staring at her all day long. Seeing Do-haeg's uneasy look, Lily asked in a cold voice, and he nodded casually, "Yes." Confused, Lily stretched out her hand and slapped the table hard. Do-haeg shrank his shoulders. In the past, Lily would just beat and scold him under the valley. No one was around to see him. Now there are people all around the inn. Lily just scolded him like this. This move made Do-haeg's self-esteem a little unbearable, and he defended in a low voice. "I have never thought about wanting this bastard, a woman like her. Who knows if the child in her belly is mine?" Please help my brother for the sake of our blood connection. How could the Doe family recognize such a child, a bastard? Lily's heart moved and she glanced at him. How do you want me to help? When she asked this question, it sounded to Doe Haig as if Lily had promised to help him. He perked up, with a sinister look on his face, and stretched out his hand to scratch his neck. Sister, she is very strong in martial arts, it's better to. The most important thing now is to avenge the Doe family. Why do you want to provoke others now? Since you can coax Chunju to take the bait, why don't you coax her to get rid of the child first? Playing words is not your specialty? If you come to, she refused at that time, and we will talk about it if we really want to make a fuss. Lily sneered at him. The child in Chunwon's belly was unwarranted, but it was Chunwon who deliberately scared him. After Lily said these words, Do Haig felt a little dissatisfied. But there was nothing he could do about Lily. Fortunately, Lily said that she would not stand idly by if Chunwon started to make trouble. Do Haig was convinced, secretly scolded Lily, and agreed hesitantly on the surface. As expected, Chunwon came again that night. Do Haig tried his best to coax her into finally agreeing to remove the flesh and blood from her belly, and she felt relieved. After that, he urged Lily to change an inn, and asked people about Judeotang. When he found that many people had never heard of Judeotang, they only thought that Judeotang was a small gang that was not popular in the world. I was almost deceived by Chunwon, but luckily I didn't agree to marry her. Later, when Do Haig discovered that playing with women was not as difficult as he imagined, he felt a little proud again. Even if the Do family is an orphan, no matter what, as long as he relies on his mouth, he can still play with some women. Once such thoughts arise, it is difficult to suppress them. When Lily finds out, Do Haig and those around the inn, several girls were already a little confused. When Lily came back from the valley early in the morning, she was already sitting in front of the hall having breakfast. Do Haig came downstairs lazily and yawned. When he saw Lily, a look of guilt flashed in his eyes, and he hurriedly sat down towards Lily. Past. The price of this inn is slightly more expensive than the previous one, and the location is much better. It is on the main road from Daking to Kyoto. Before Do Haig could say anything, a group of fierce soldiers rushed over from outside and pulled him over. The lilies on both sides of the road rushed away. The people from Prince Gao's mansion are passing by, and the idlers should keep out of the way. Lily was sitting by the wooden fence of the inn. She could clearly see the cold expressions and fierce eyes on the faces of the soldiers. When she heard the words Gao Wangfu again, her eyes suddenly narrowed. The people around him hurriedly avoided it. Not far away, a soft sedan was carried over with support. A group of soldiers surrounded it tightly. Do Haig glanced at this posture, with a bit of envy in his eyes. That inn, the waiter happened to bring breakfast over at this moment. When he saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. The little princess of Prince Gao's mansion went to Hyogyo Temple to offer incense again. Want to know more exciting news in Cannon Fodder strategy? Open WeChat now, click the plus sign in the upper right corner, select Add Friends to add a public account, search for, follow the public account, and never miss every update again. Book, to be continued. If you like this works, welcome to come. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 608. How do you know it's the little princess? Do Haig licked his lips and stared straight at the sedan. He was staring at the motorcade at first, but his eyes fell more on those majestic soldiers. Their eyes shone with envy and jealousy, but when they heard the waiter say that the princess of some palace was sitting in the sedan, Do Haig could no longer move his eyes away. The sedan looked unusually majestic, and the person in the sedan, there are tassels hanging on the four corners, which flicker as you move around. The splendor cannot be described in words. /U003C/P/U003E. It has been some time since Do Haig came out of the valley. He is no longer the country bumpkin who just came out of the valley. He also knows what the prince represents, and he also understands what the little princess is. A bit of ambition and desire flashed in his eyes, and these words when asked, the waiter in the shop first poured tea for the two of them, and then wiped the table with a handkerchief. Aren't the two guests from the local area? /U003C/P/U003E. Hearing this, Dohage's face flashed with displeasure. He knew that the locals in Kyoto City in the Daking dynasty had some sense of pride and looked down on those country people who came from remote areas. He was also a real Kyoto native, but unfortunately more than 10 years ago, after something happened to the Do family, he fell into the valley and stayed there for more than 10 years. To the locals, he was just like a foreigner. His self-esteem was extremely high, so how could he endure others looking down on him? Now Dohage a little angry, but he also wanted to hear the news about the little princess from the waiter. He endured the hatred and cruelty in his heart, and when Lily didn't hum, he responded vaguely. /U003C/P/U003E. This little princess is the adopted daughter of Prince Gao. Do you know who Prince Gao is? She was a great hero of our Daking dynasty, who drove away countless foreign enemies. He made great military exploits. Prince Gao has no heirs. In his early years, I have adopted an adopted daughter, and she is this little princess. When the waiter said this, the shopkeeper was already calling him. He turned to Lily and hugged her, smiled a little, and quickly turned around and ran back. /U003C/P/U003E. Prince Gao's adopted daughter. /U003C/P/U003E. Dohage reached out and stroked his chin, his cheeks twitching slightly. After muttering softly in her mouth, Lily raised her head and glanced at him, then lowered her head. Gao Yi's adopted daughter is Zhou Rui'er. In the plot, the girl who was given the title of Princess Ping'an by the emperor and finally married Dohage. Calculating the time, Dohage in the plot did not meet her until 3 years later. Relying on her childhood impression of Dohage, Zhou Rui'er immediately recognized him, got to know him, and told him his true life story. /U003C/P/U003E. At that time, after he had just learned his true identity, Dohage often slipped out of the Dark Palace to have trysts with Zhou Rui'er, and the two men and women, who were less than 1 year apart in age, fell in love with each other. When the love got stronger, Zhou Rui'er revealed the fact that she was Dohage's original fiancée. When Dohage heard all this, he was even more emotional. Finally, he impulsively revealed Dohage's identity as the master of the Dark Palace that everyone in the world was shouting about. Zhou Rui'er was shocked to find that Dohage was still alive in the world. She also learned that she had created the notorious Dark Palace in the world. Out of righteousness, she persuaded Dohage to recognize his ancestor and return to his clan, and hoped that he and Dohage would make a clean break. /U003C/P/U003E. On the other hand, Dohage couldn't stand it. The sister who she thinks is an evil heretic, on the other side is her beloved fiancé and Gao Yi, the biological father of the great hero whom everyone admires. Dohage chose to side with Zhou Rui'er without any hesitation. After working as an internal agent beside Dohage for half a year, the Dark Hall, which had failed to be surrounded and suppressed by decent people in the Jianghu, was eventually killed several times due to leaks of information. When his strength was greatly reduced, Dohage even drugged Dohage and others, taking advantage of her being unprepared for him, causing her to lose all her martial arts skills, and finally committed suicide in order to save face. Of course, Dohage and Zhou Rui'er later lovers must have finally become a couple, and Cheng Huan was extremely filial to Gao Yi. /U003C/P/U003E. Although Lily Do did not mention revenge on Zhou Rui'er during this mission, Lily was not ready to let her go. When she was young, this girl picked up Gao Yi with ulterior motives and entered the Do family, causing such a huge disaster to the Dou family, and finally made her so many members of the Dou family died, but she followed Gao Yi with great glory and became her Princess Ping'an. Even though she was young and ignorant at that time, she did not mean to kill so many lives in the Dou family. But although Gao Yi was the main culprit in the death of everyone in the Dou family, Zhou Ruier was also an accomplice, and after knowing the truth, she helped Gao Yi in disguise to kill Dou Beihe, the only descendant of the Dou family. /U003C/P/U003E. These officials only want to enjoy themselves, but they don't care about the life and death of the people. When the Dou family was wiped out, where were these so-called imperial officials? Lily thought of this, and suddenly reached out and patted the table heavily. With a bit of resentment on his face, Dou Haig was immersed in his own thoughts at the moment. His eyes were chasing the sedan, and his heart was extremely agitated. /U003C/P/U003E. He also wants to live a life on Earth, surrounded by a group of subordinates and marrying a wife from a noble family. Then no one in the world dares to look down on him, no one dares to look down on him, and anyone who looks down on him will die. How beautiful and comfortable. Just when he was lost in thought, Lily's sudden action of slapping the table frightened him, and his heart started to beat suddenly. /U003C/P/U003E. Dou Haig dared not speak out in anger at this moment. He endured the anger in his heart, picked up the tea on the table and drank it all, and saw the anger on Lily's face again. Over the years, Lily has always been a moody and eccentric woman in Dou Haig's heart. At this time, when she said such angry words, Dou Haig was not surprised, but took it for granted. His thoughts were still on the little princess. As soon as Lily finished her words, he said it without thinking. Said, "My sister is very good at martial arts, so I just have to find a way to teach him a lesson." /U003C/P/U003E. Thinking of this, Dou Haig paused, and his mind suddenly became a little lively. If he wants to become a master, he does not necessarily have to work hard on his own. It is not impossible to marry a wife who comes from a noble family. If Lily he was willing to help him and put the little princess in danger just now. If he could be a hero and save her, she would definitely be very grateful to him. With his appearance and talent, if he wanted to capture it is not difficult for a woman to have a heart. If she likes him and agrees with him, it will be too late for her to regret it even if she wants to. Wouldn't this wealth still belong to him? /U003C/P/U003E. As whimsical thoughts came into his mind, Dou Haig could no longer calm down. He suppressed the excitement and joy in his heart and glanced at Lily again. Lily was very skilled in martial arts. If she could help him, this matter would definitely happen. The more Dou Haig thought about it, the more he felt that this idea was feasible, but the important thing was that he didn't know how to convince Lily to help him. He scratched his head for a while, and then he remembered what Lily had just scolded Prince Gao, and Dou Haig couldn't help but feel one move /U003C/P/U003E. Sister, I have a way to vent my anger for my sister. /U003C/P/U003E. After saying this, Dou Haig seemed to be deeply afraid that Lily would not believe it, so he hurriedly leaned over and whispered, "Sister, listen to me." He was afraid that Lily would not listen to what he said, so he did not dare to talk nonsense and talk to himself. When he mentioned the crooked idea, Lily glanced at him with a smile. She really didn't expect that Dou Haig could come up with such a crooked idea. /U003C/P/U003E. There were many brothels and parlors in the Daking dynasty, and most of them were the female relatives of criminal officials. Dou Haig's plan to teach Gao Yi a lesson was to find prostitutes from these major prostitutes and send them to Prince Gao's palace. When Gao Yi was taken prisoner, his body was extremely seriously injured, and he could not be humane at all in his life. Therefore, in the more than 10 years after returning to China, even though he had great power, he never married a wife or took any concubines. At this time, he wanted to find a bastard to humiliate him. This method did not cause any real harm to Gao Yi, but it was extremely disgusting and disgusting. The method was despicable and sinister, and it was not done by a bright gentleman. Lily did not expect that she would use Dohaig in these years. The teaching was so good, she thought about it and had no objection /U003C/P/U003E. Where can I get the money from the waiter? /U003C/P/U003E. Just say let the bastard go to Prince Gao's mansion to ask for it. General Gao has a high position, so he can't afford the money, Dohaig replied nonchalantly, and Lily asked again, what if the bastard is in the way of Gao Yi, because of your reputation and status, you don't dare to send people there. /U003C/P/U003E. A sinister look appeared on Dohaig's face, and he clenched his hands into fists. If she refuses to go, I will chop off her arms and shave off her leg bones. She will always agree to severe punishment. /U003C/P/U003E. Lily clapped her hands and gave him a meaningful look. In this case, it's true as you said. These dog officials don't serve the people. The incident that happened to the Doe family displaced the two of us, and it is still an unsolved case. It's just a matter of venting your anger by playing this difficult game. /U003C/P/U003E. Seeing Lily agreed to his proposal, Dohaig cheered up /U003C/P/U003E. Besides, that little princess, I think my sister can also come forward and teach her a lesson. /U003C/P/U003E. There was a malicious look in his eyes. Lily knew that he must have some crooked idea in his mind at this moment, but she did not expose it and just sneered. I have my own sense of purpose, Dohaig responded repeatedly and tried to please him. He picked up the teapot and filled the teacup for Lily, stretched out his hand to touch his chin, and smiled slightly. /U003C/P/U003E. In the afternoon of that day, many monasteries carried Ger to the gate of Gao's mansion. People in these monasteries seemed to not know that Gao Yi had summoned Ger. Everyone happened to bump into each other. Too embarrassed to speak. /U003C/P/U003E. Although the folk customs of the Daking dynasty were not considered conservative, and the rich and powerful also had young servants to serve others, this was the first time that such a big fanfare was used to send servants to the mansion. The Gao family was shocked and angry, and hurriedly brought these people in. In the mansion, people were carrying them one after another. Even if the people in Prince Gao's mansion wanted to shut up now, it was too late. /U003C/P/U003E. After asking about the person behind it, some said it was a martial arts hero, some said it was a beggar in the city, and some said it was an ugly-faced woman. Gao Yi wondered if he had offended some rogue in the Green Forest, so he was hated by others. At the same time, he became angry with shame and took the money one by one to send these little shepherds out. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come, /U003C/P/U003E. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 609. This move spread throughout the capital of Daking. Gao Yi's original reputation seemed to be covered with a layer of dust. The people naturally loved to talk about chivalrous people after dinner, but they were even more concerned about such rumors. It was Ai who discussed behind his back that it would be fine if Gao Yi really had a clear conscience and did not value power, fame, and fortune. But he was not that kind of person, otherwise he would not have gone out of his way to restore his real name to receive the reward. Now Dohaig's actions made him almost vomit in anger. Xueli secretly sent people to investigate the Jianghu heroes and beggar women mentioned in the Jiaofang brothel, but after interrogating many people, they could not tell the reason. There were countless Jianghu young heroes who appeared in the capital of Daking. Finally, this matter is just settled. After taking Gao Yi away and letting him suffer a painful loss, Do Haig couldn't help but feel a little complacent in his heart. Although he was a poor country boy in the eyes of others, the prince was still played by him and applauded. After success, after Gao Yi got angry for a while, Do Haig was originally thinking about how to get Lily to agree to help him, but Lily agreed proactively. He had checked out the Pingan princess and found out that her real name was Jo, but her maiden name was unknown. She was 18 years old, 1 year older than him. What made Do Haig happy was that this little princess still had to be called boudoir. Among them, there were very few girls in the Daking dynasty who were still unmarried at the age of 18, but I heard that for some reason, the princess refused many candidates who came to propose marriage. Do Haig also began to wonder if the little princess was ugly. But then he felt relieved when he thought that what he valued was not her appearance but her status and money. The little princess of Jeofa will definitely go out one day every month to burn incense and fulfill her vows at the Hyogyo temple outside the city. There would be many soldiers protecting them along the way. Lily and Do Haig waited until that day and followed the soldiers out of the city. 10 members of the Dark Hall were already ambushed outside the city. Do Haig had a delighted smile on his face and stared at Lily from time to time. When they arrived at the agreed place, Lily rushed out, and the soldiers who were protecting Jo Rui were startled. Everyone quickly surrounded Lily. Do Haig was just waiting for Lily to knock down the soldiers before he came forward. Unexpectedly, a group of men in black with their faces flying out of the grass. Seeing these men in black, Do Haig remembered the scene when the Do family village was destroyed that day, and his whole body shivered instinctively. In the past, he said that he wanted to avenge the Do family, but in reality, the scene that night more than 10 years ago there was still a shadow in Do Haig's mind. He watched helplessly as Lily seemed to be surrounded by these men in black. Most of the soldiers in Prince Gao's mansion were killed or injured. When they were in a panic, Jo Rui was dragged out from the sedan chair. She was not as ugly and scary as Do Haig imagined. Instead, she had an extremely beautiful appearance, with a hint of sanctity in her fragility. Now his little face was a little flustered. "You? Who are you?" Jo Rui's voice was like an aureole coming out of the valley. Lily pretended to be entangled with the people in the dark hall, glancing here from time to time. The young men in the dark palace didn't say much to her, and the evil spirit pulled her out and dragged her on the ground. As she struggled in embarrassment, her skirt slid up, revealing a section of her slender calves. Jo Rui's face flushed red, and Do Haig, who was hiding in the dark, took a look, feeling both excited and hesitant. He didn't expect that this little princess, who he thought was ugly and unattractive, would turn out to be so beautiful. And that kind of pure temperament is not comparable to the previous Chunwan or any woman he has been with in the past few days. Unfortunately, the other party seems to be outnumbered at this moment, and it seems that the man in black has very strong martial arts. Even Lily and them were just tied, so Do Haig naturally didn't dare to step forward again. I secretly felt sorry for this beauty for a while. Do Haig seemed to have seen her somewhere before, but he couldn't remember where. 12 years ago, the Do family was exterminated. Eradicate the remnants. One of the boys looked up and exchanged glances with Lily, and slowly said that he was the murderer of the Do family's extermination 12 years ago. Jo Rui heard he said this without thinking. Impossible. The murderer 12 years ago was her adoptive father Gao Yi. No one in the entire Daking dynasty or in the world knew about this, and her adoptive father would not kill her at all. As soon as Jo Rui said these words, Lily winking at one of the teenagers, the boy grabbed Jo Rui's clothes and tore them open. She screamed. Lily seemed to be stimulated by the Do family's murder case, and the attacks on her hands gradually became more fierce. still shouting, "Don't even think about escaping." This was the secret code of the agreement between the members of the Dark Hall and Behi. After hearing this, they naturally fought and retreated, and Behi chased out. Dohak waited for these people to leave, and he felt relieved. When he saw Joruir again, his face showed he was so happy that he stood up. In the woods, Lily greeted the teenagers who had taken off their masks to go back. She did not go back to where she was before. At this moment, Dohak was probably still comforting Joruir. In the plot, the two people were so in love that they were crazy. People, I don't know if the love between the two of them can be rekindled now that they have changed the place where they met, and Joruir looks so embarrassed again. When Lily returned to the inn, Dohak had not been seen yet. She did not leave the inn that night. She had already said what she wanted to say to the Dark Hall organization during the day. Dohak did not come back overnight. At dawn the next day, the person next door the sound of footsteps was heard. Lily curled her lips, then deliberately lowered her face, and opened the door. Dohak, who had already changed into a brocade robe, now had his hair combed neatly, and his face looked excited. Blushing, when he saw Lily coming out, he was subconsciously startled, and then took a few steps back, with a look of guilt and fear on his face. "Sister, why aren't you asleep yet? Where were you yesterday? Didn't you agree to avenge the Doe family and fight with those men in black?" Lily scolded Dohak. He frowned tightly at first, then stood and reluctantly squeezed out. A hint of smile came. "I saw you running after them yesterday, and I chased after them, but I never saw anyone." After Lily chased the group of men in black and left yesterday, Dohak didn't follow him. Those men in black had extraordinary martial arts skills. He would not be stupid enough to go up and die. What's more, Lily has either beaten or scolded him over the years. Yes, Dohak had resented her for a long time. Now that he saw her in trouble, he wished she would die at the hands of those men in black. How could he still help her? Besides, his main purpose was to achieve success and get to know Joruir. At that time, the guard around Joruir died and she was so frightened. It was a good time for him to appear, and it was even less likely that he would go to Lily. Unexpectedly, the moment she saw Joruir, she actually called out her name and asked if his surname was Doe, telling him that he looked similar to the same person. Dohak was suspicious by nature, especially after he had just seen the group of killers in black. He did not agree to what Joruir shouted. Instead, he said that she had admitted the wrong person, comforted her for a long time, and personally sent her to Hyogyo Temple. Originally, he wanted to whet this girl's appetite again, but he didn't expect that she took the initiative to leave her name and identity, and even asked him to meet him later. Things were going so smoothly. Dohak should have been very happy, but Joruir's name gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before, but he couldn't remember it at all. He had been living at the bottom of the valley these years, and he couldn't remember it at all. He didn't know anyone. He was afraid that Joruir was one of the men in black who were chasing him, and he was also afraid that if she was related to those people, he would be unlucky if his identity was exposed, so he hurried all the way back to the city and waited for her to come. When he opened the door and came back, he was still thinking about this. At this time, Lily's sudden scolding made Dohak startled, and at the same time, he became a little impatient. He thought that he had already met the princess and might break up with Lily in the future. Dohak's expression turned cold. "I'm a little tired. I didn't go back to the city after looking for my sister all night yesterday. Fortunately, you're okay. I want to sleep for a while." After saying this, Dohak opened the door directly and closed it with a bang. At this time, he had exactly the same attitude towards Dobehi after meeting Joruir in the plot, except that Dobehi would feel flustered and frightened because of his attitude, but Behi just looked at the closed door for a long time, and the corners of his mouth curled up. "Stand up. For the next period of time, Do-haeg went out early and came back late every day. His attention was no longer on Lily. On the contrary, Lily began to pay attention to him. He often looked dazed. Until half a month later, when Lily followed him, he looked far away. When he noticed that he had entered Prince Gao's palace, he realized that Do-haeg had figured out his true life experience and had connected with Gao Yi. In a few days, Do-haeg did not return to the inn. When he came back again, he had already it's 3 days later. This time when he came back, he was wearing the kind of coarse clothes that Lily had bought for him when he came out of the valley. His long hair was just tied up with a cloth belt. He looked exactly like the way he dressed up like a wealthy young man after meeting Zhou Rui some time ago. Different, everything is abnormal and it is a monster. Do-haeg also put aside his indifferent attitude towards Lily some time ago. After returning, he knelt in front of Lily. Sister. These days, I have been investigating the culprit of the Do family's murder case, but there is no such thing. Thinking that there was a similar force behind the scenes pursuing the case, I followed the clues and found out that Yi, an old friend of my father's when he was still alive, was also pursuing the matter of Do's villa. He had been trying to help his father all these years. Mom wants to take revenge. Sister, guess who he is? Do-haeg himself also knew that if things were abnormal, he would become a monster. He left the inn for several days, and when he came back, he would always make up a perfect story to trap Lily. He already knew the truth of the matter, including his own life experience and the real reason for the tragedy of the Do family's family extermination. His main purpose of coming back this time was to kill Lily, the only orphan of the Do family, to eliminate future troubles. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 610. Do-haeg has stayed in Prince Gao's mansion these 2 days and discussed with Gao Yi. He has been with Lily for many years and knows that Lily is very strong in martial arts. If she wants to be a strong opponent, it will not be easy to kill her. What's more, if Lily wants to escape, Gao Yi, even if he leads troops to surround the nest, he can protect himself, but if Lily wants to escape, he may not be able to keep her here. The most important thing is that Gao Yi has a high position and a good reputation. If he wants to mobilize troops, he must have a reputation. Therefore, Gao Yi seems to be in a good position now, but he can deal with ordinary people. It is difficult for tall people, so this is the right time for Do-haeg to come forward. He came up with the same idea as in the plot, which is to use his current surname Do and his and Lily's apparent sibling status to gain her trust and then kill her. Die. Compared with the possibility of causing trouble after breaking up, this method is the safest. Lily stared at the clothes Do-haeg was wearing. After being used to wearing satin for 2 days, he was obviously not used to wearing such coarse cloth clothes. Do-haeg was smart but was misled by his cleverness. It was a pity that she knew the plot and was prepared. Believe him, even if there is no plot, just based on the change in his clothes now, Lily will not be fooled by him. She originally thought that when she mentioned an old acquaintance of the Do family and that this old acquaintance wanted to avenge the Do family, Lily would be curious and ask questions. Unexpectedly, Do-haeg threw the bait out, but Lily didn't bite the fish at all. He gritted his teeth, and before Lily could answer, he bit the bullet and continued, "He is actually Prince Gao of Prince Gao's mansion. Sister, you know Prince Gao, right?" After Do-haeg said this, he raised his head and glanced at Lily, trying to get some clues from her face. But Lily deliberately didn't speak, and her expression was cold. She kept staring at Do-haeg, and now Do-haeg looked up at her. He couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. "This Prince Gao is my father's sworn friend. Now he is also investigating the cause of the accident in the Do family. He is very happy to know that my sister is still alive. I originally wanted to send someone to take my sister into the house. But I'm afraid that the big fanfare will attract the attention of those men in black. Lily was silent, so Do-haeg had to continue speaking. This was completely different from what he had originally imagined. He cursed Lily secretly several times, and after talking for a long time without waiting for an answer, he added. But Prince Gao is afraid that his sister will encounter these traitorous enemies again, so he wants to take his sister into his residence. Speak out your purpose. Lily had already made up her mind that she would go to the Gao family with him today. After all, she had to enter the Gao family to perform in the next big play. But now she saw that Do-haeg wanted to coax her into a trap, but she couldn't. Prince Gao seemed to be thinking of his old friendship and was benevolent to her, but she deliberately made things difficult for her. What old friend? If he is really an old friend, why didn't he see him when the Do family had an accident? Who wants him to come here now? Kind-hearted. No, when the Do family was in trouble, Prince Gao was also in danger. Do-haeg finally waited for Lily to speak, but he didn't expect that Lily would refute as soon as he opened his mouth. He subconsciously explained a few sentences, and Lily interrupted his words. When he was in crisis, he later became a prince and had so many soldiers under his command. How come he never traced the real culprit of the Do family? The soldiers are not your own private soldiers, how can you command them at will? Do-haeg felt a little unhappy when he heard Lily talking about Gao Yi. Replied her. Lily interrupted him again. Okay, stop talking and get out. You are a personal acquaintance. You just believe what others say. When people call a deer a horse, do you have to nod in agreement? Seeing that Prince Gao is powerful. What do you want now? Just try to please yourself and go on your own, you are a worthless thing. The Do family gave birth to a waste like you, it is really not blessed by our ancestors. Lily scolded Do-haeg's face until his face turned green and white, but he couldn't bear it. Dare to speak out, Lily saw his appearance, and said, if you are not good at literature, you are not good at martial arts, but you are stupid and stupid, but you are good at it. I can coax you to death with just a few words. I have wasted my years of teaching you. You are really a mess, it won't stick to the wall. Murderous intent surged in Do-haeg's heart. At this moment, the fists hidden under his sleeves were tightly clenched. His whole body was extremely tense, but he endured it and knelt on the ground. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, Sister, you have taught me a lesson. This is something he has often said in front of Lily for more than 10 years. But because he now recognizes his biological father and knows that his life experience was originally an extremely noble son, when he talks about it to Lily again, he feels extremely sad. Uneasy, but Do-haeg was no match for her in front of Lily at this moment. Even if he gritted his teeth with hatred, he did not dare to do anything else. He only thought that one day he would crush Lily to ashes in order to eliminate the hatred in his heart. Looking at the Do-haeg, who often had a cold face in the plot and choked up a few words that made Do-bae feel uncomfortable, but still wanted to coax this younger brother who lost his parents and suffered a lot at a young age, he was kneeling in front of him as if his role had changed. Bae couldn't help but feel happy in her heart. At that time, Do-haeg couldn't stand the eccentric behavior of the dark palace established by the original owner, so he often made faces towards her. The original owner thought that this was his only younger brother, so although he felt a little aggrieved, they all forced themselves to endure it, but the feeling was definitely uncomfortable. At this time, the situation changed, the one kneeling on the ground became Do-haeg, the one who scolded him as he pleased became him, the one who forced himself to endure it, and the one who had to apologize after being scolded became Do-haeg. Only then did he know how much that feeling felt. Uncomfortable. Get out, I'm going to practice. Lily admired his ugly face for a while, and then slowly ordered. Do-haeg had just been scolded like that, and now he was not willing to let it go. He endured his anger and said reluctantly, although I shouldn't mention it, I did. That Prince Gao is very sincere. Right now, you are only trying to please Prince Gao. I'm afraid he's making a lot of shit and you still say it tastes good. Are you trying to trace the whereabouts of the real murderer of the Doe family? Humph, it's a joke. I don't need anyone else to avenge the Doe family. Kill the Doe family. I will track them down one by one. As soon as Lily said these words, Do-Haeg couldn't bear it anymore. When she asked Do-Haeg to go out again, Do-Haeg lowered his head and exited the door. As soon as he walked out of the door, his face became ferocious and ugly, and he killed Lily in his heart. He said it 1,000 times, and then cursed bitterly, "You weird bitch." Then I felt that a lot of things had disappeared in my heart. Although the goal was not achieved this time, Do-Haeg did not give up because of this. He stayed in the inn honestly this time, and even Zhou Ruiyer's face disappeared. He only waited for Lily to forget about the previous things and calm down. If he talks to her about the prince's affairs again, even if she refuses to go to Prince Gao's mansion, if there is really no other way, he can directly drug her in the inn. As long as it can disable her martial arts, even if it only disables half of it, he will be able to do it. I can kill her. Although he was not as able to move around in the inn as he was in Prince Gao's mansion, Do-Haeg wanted to get rid of Lily at this time. He could no longer care about so much. When the time came, he would burn down the inn and destroy all traces of the body. In the next few days, Do-Haeg seemed to think of the happy feeling after he accomplished his things, and his mood was no longer as gloomy as before. Occasionally, he would have a flattering smile on his face when he saw Lily, but it was a pity that the tea he sent Lily didn't know how to drink, and even the eating Lily he touched didn't move at all. For several days, there was no progress in the mission. Just when Do-Haeg was a little anxious, Zhou Ruiyer came to the door. Lily's ears suddenly stood up when she heard the slight sound of the door opening next door. She leaned against the door and looked out, and saw a woman dressed as a servant next door stuffing something like silk into Do-Haeg's mouth. Inside the door, the woman's movements were gentle, but unfortunately she didn't hide it from Lily's eyes and ears at all. She stared at it carefully. After a while, there were sounds of movement and rustling sounds like silk being spread out next door. After the sound, there was no more movement. Do-Haeg still followed her all day long, but his brows could not help but reveal a bit of gloom, especially as the sky gradually darkened. Something flashed in his eyes. Not quick. He left for a while before dinner, and not long after, the innkeeper came over with an apologetic look on his face, saying that he wanted to change Do-Haeg's room. The innkeeper only said that the room Do-Haeg was staying in was a regular guest of the inn, and the regular guest left the hotel a few days ago. Jing, now that I'm back, this regular guest only likes that room, so I'd like to trouble Do-Haeg to change seats now, and the inn is willing to make some compensation. Do-Haeg scolded the shopkeeper impatiently, but the shopkeeper laughed and did not dare to say a word. Lily couldn't help laughing when she saw this good show. The room was finally changed, and Do-Haeg was moved to a guest room in the corner farthest from Lily on the second floor. At midnight, Do-Haeg indeed moved. Lily waited for him to go out and followed him quietly. She originally guessed that Gao Yi missed his son and sent someone to find him, but she didn't expect that he didn't look at Gao Yi after he left the inn. Wang Fu ran, but instead ran in the other direction. When he stopped in a courtyard, he exhaled, straightened his clothes, and pushed open the unfastened door. There were only 2 people in this private house. When they heard the noise outside, a figure wearing a cloak came out quickly. When he saw Do-Haeg, he breathed a sigh of relief. After taking off his hood, he rushed towards him. "Hi Ge," Zhou Ruiyer's soft voice rang out. Her delicate face under the moonlight was full of joy and affection, but Do-Haeg had an impatient look on his face. "Ruiyer, it's very dangerous for me to follow Do-Bei now. Is there anything you need to call me out for?" Recently, Do-Haeg has been unable to get things done. He knows who his biological father is and that he is the eldest son of Prince Gao's mansion. However, he cannot go back to his home to enjoy the blessings. Instead, he has to follow Bai He to please and fawn over him. He feels angry every day. Another day passed, and unexpectedly, Zhou Ruier found someone to inform him and made an appointment to meet here. It's best not to contact us until the matter is settled. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 611. Do Haig said something coldly. Zhou Ruier was stunned and lowered his head. The two discussed for a while how to deal with Lily and kill her. Zhou Ruier finally said shyly, "Hi Ge, yes, please finish the matter soon, and after Lily Do is killed, we can get married, okay." As she spoke, she gently stretched out her hand to caress her belly. Lily outside the wall heard this clearly. He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. If Do Haig in the plot was taught well by Do Bai he might be willful and naive, but for Zhou Ruier, who has a childhood friendship and a sense of responsibility, he should agree to these words. But now Do Haig has been taught by Lily Do these years. After the torture, his mind has long been distorted, and because of the incident of Chunwan before, emotionally, Do Haig is not the person in the plot who has not experienced human affairs and is more loyal, otherwise he would not have they coaxed Zhou Ruier into obeying him before the marriage. Now when Zhou Ruier mentioned that she had a child, Do Haig was not as happy as she imagined, but his expression turned gloomy. "We can't have children now." Without thinking, Do Haig said these words. The time Chunwan deceived him before, Do Haig thought that he had really become a father. At that time, his first child was reincarnated in his mind to a middle-aged girl. The woman was still a little widow in her belly, so it did not leave an indelible impression on him. When he became a father now, he was not very excited because it was not the first time. Coupled with the improper interactions with several women in the past few months, it was too easy for him to get Zhou Ruier, even if she was a fairy-like beauty. After getting tired of playing, he doesn't cherish it so much. What's more, now that Do Haig knows his identity as the crown prince, how can he easily marry a concubine? Zhou Ruier was not the woman in the plot who he fell in love with so much that he couldn't bear to touch her and wanted to stay on the wedding night to get her. At this moment, Zhou Ruier has been acquired by him. If she doesn't marry him, she can't marry anyone else. Do Haig doesn't even want to marry her. Zhou Ruier is destined to be his anyway. When he becomes the eldest son, he can choose another person who is well matched, who is better than Zhou Ruier, an orphan girl who took refuge with his father. As soon as she said the words to abort the child, Zhou Ruier's face suddenly turned pale. She bit her lips, her head began to shake, and tears began to well up in her eyes. She just looked at Do Haig intently. "Make a sound. Once a man becomes cruel, he will. How can he be soft-hearted because of her tears? If he feels sorry for her, her tears are more precious than pearls. If he is tired of her, her tears will be as disgusting as a flood." Do Haig has been tempered by Lily recently. Extremely, but this enemy couldn't let her stay. Moreover, Do Haig had long hated Lily to the core and had always wanted to kill her. Now that he had found such a reason, he naturally refused to let her go. The longer he stayed by her side, the more he felt unwilling to let her die in his own hands. He refused to give up on this matter, and Zhou Ruier came to make him upset, so he watched Zhou Ruier cry. He just watched with cold eyes and refused to say anything. Lily could hear clearly outside. She now has deep internal energy and extremely sensitive senses. Zhou Ruier sobbing and rapid breathing can be heard in her ears, but the surroundings are quiet. Do Haig didn't mean to coax her or comfort her. Lily didn't need to look at it at this time. I knew that Zhou Ruier's expression must be quite ugly. Do Haig is a cold and selfish person at heart. Whether it is her conscious teaching in this mission or the Do Haig in the plot, he has inherited Gao Yi's ruthlessness. In the plot, he recognizes his biological father and can confess to him without hesitation. She had called him for many years, raised him for more than 10 years, and when she attacked his sister who was like a treasure, Joruier thought that she had got such a wonderful man, but such a cruel man could one day attack his sister who was very good to her. If there is a conflict of interest, it is naturally possible to attack her. It is a pity that the original owner died too early and did not see this scene. After crying for a while, Joruier herself stopped crying. "Are you so cold? Haig, what's wrong with you? Did you lie to me in everything you said?" Haig naturally denied it impatiently. But Joruier refused to believe it. She asked a few more questions, and Haig gradually became a little bad-tempered. "When I first saw you, you were disheveled. Who knows if you were raped at that time? The child in your belly is not, it must be mine. I can't have it. He is the eldest son of the palace, and scandals like being pregnant while unmarried cannot happen to him. In the future, he will marry a girl who is 100 times better than Joruier, and it is impossible for her to give birth to his own child, even though he knows that Joruier was not really pregnant that day. It was like having her clothes torn off, but remembering that her woman had been looked at by other men in black, Haig's eyes became even more unhappy when he looked at Joruier again. "You wronged me." Joruier became a little excited when she heard this, and her voice gradually became louder. Lily listened outside for a while. It was just that the two young lovers were arguing about the child. It was conceivable that it would be useless to eavesdrop any more. Based on her understanding of Haig, he would probably end up here again. She stayed for about an hour, and this person was sinister and suspicious, and would definitely go to her room to inquire about it. She planned to take this time to go to the valley for the next trip. Lily jumped away and jumped on the roof, and flew back briskly. After going to the bottom of the valley to give some instructions to the young men in the dark hall, he hurried back to the inn. About half a quarter of an hour after she came back, another soft footsteps also sounded. Haig tentatively called outside the door, "Sister, are you asleep?" "I can't sleep. I always think of the day when the Doe family was raped. The scene when the family was destroyed. I want to talk to my sister for a while." It seemed that he had spent a lot of effort to appease Joruier. Lily coldly told him to get lost. He responded as if he was relieved, and the door gradually became quiet. There was no peace in the capital that night. Before dawn the next day, many Yulan troops began to search the streets around the capital and posted an imperial list. Last night, the palace was attacked by a group of black-clad assassins with high martial arts skills. He broke into the palace and wanted to assassinate the emperor. Although he did not succeed in the end, he caused an uproar in the palace. Everyone in the palace guards was very nervous. There was noisy in the palace all night. The Daking emperor was furious and demanded a thorough investigation of the capital. This must be done. Dozens of assassins looked for it. Many people speculate that these assassins should be related to the Jianghu people, but the relationship between the Jianghu people and the imperial court has always been on the same page. As long as these people are not revolting and making trouble, the emperor usually turns a blind eye to the Jianghu people. One eye, even if there are fights between sects in the martial arts world, most of them will not participate in the court battles. Many people with strong martial arts skills in the martial arts world are even used by the royal family. Some gangs have royal support behind them, but there is no such thing. Thinking that the emperor would be assassinated this time, several of the palace masters were injured last night. Although some of the men in black were injured, almost no one survived, so there was no clue at all. For several days in a row, these men in black would occasionally wander into the palace. They did not actually assassinate the emperor, but they caused a panic. The guards were very nervous. They didn't know when these men in black would come, and they didn't know. I don't know how the emperor will blame him next time. Naturally, everyone is tired from being nervous and waiting for the rabbit. This makes the group of men in black with strong martial arts take advantage of the loophole. In recent times, the Emperor has even been almost found. If the guards hadn't arrived quickly, I'm afraid the Emperor would have been poisoned long ago. These men in black were afraid of poison on their swords, and the poison would seal their throats with blood. Once they were injured, if they did not take the antidote in time, they would definitely die. It was clear that they wanted to take the Emperor's life specifically, and the Emperor of the organizations in the world knew it. It is impossible that such a group of masters only appeared in the past 2 years. If these people had not practiced for 7 or 8 years and needed advanced martial arts, it would be impossible. The small sect did not have such strength. The Emperor began to doubt the people in the martial arts world. Some people want to rebel. The guards in the palace can't stand it anymore. If things continue like this, they will have to be more vigilant when the men in black don't come. When the men in black come, they will have to be more alert. People are not made of steel, so there is nothing they can do. So vigilant at all times, someone in the court suggested to the Emperor that he should send someone to announce the decree to the martial arts people, giving them 10 days to find the murderer. Jianghu affairs were handed over to the Jianghu office, and the Emperor acquiesced to this move. Unfortunately, his life was extremely precious, so he could not wait for 10 days. He summoned the heads of various martial arts sects and set a limit of 5 days to kill the thieves. In order to arrest them and bring them to justice, the Emperor did not care what the expressions of these people in the world were. Although he knew that his current actions were a bit difficult, the recent assassination made the Emperor have no good impression of the people in the world. After passing the decree, he left with a puff of his sleeves. The people of the Dark Palace were hiding in the Valley of the Abyss, and that place was full of poisonous snakes. Who would have thought that there would be a group of organizations hiding in such a place in the capital? What's more, these people are so powerful in martial arts that they can come and go freely in the palace. In addition, it sounds like the crowd is not small. There are many masters in the palace, but they can't do anything about these people. How can the people in the world deal with these people? There is a way. It's just that the Emperor's order is greater than the heaven. When they accepted this decree, the leaders had no choice but to discuss it for half a day and began to send their disciples to inquire about the whereabouts of these men in black. This inquiry reminded many people of 2 years ago, the Dou family was massacred. The Dou family was slaughtered overnight. It was a group of men in black who were highly skilled in martial arts. Could it be that this incident was related to the men in black? To be continued.